think the first thing would be is, what is it about the silence? Is it the thoughts that come up? Is it the way that you feel inside? A lot of people, like, everyone's different, and what works for you may not work for me and may not work for the next person. So it's around finding what works for you and then putting that barricade or that barrier up of, I'm going to focus on this self-care for me. When I think of a barrier, I think of a gate rather than a wall. A lot of people see a barrier as this brick wall that I'm putting up to protect myself. But if you see it as a gate, you allow that gate to open when you choose and to close when you want to keep certain things, people, thoughts out. So you've got control of that gate. If you're opening the gate to allow other perspectives in and go, yeah, I could think of that. It's like a different perspective. If you're not open up to other people's perspectives, you're reducing your learning and your education that can come from that. And this is why collaboration is so important, especially in the NDIS space, where you've got the challenges of the price guide changes, there's new policies, there's, all these changes coming in. But if we open up those gates and go to the next service and go, hey, what are you doing? How can I help you? We work together, then as a community, we're going to grow. But going back to the self-care, and the thoughts, if you can work out what it is that you're uncomfortable with, maybe just start with 5 minutes of no music. You can slap your headphones in, but just push pause for 5 minutes mid-walk and go, okay, what thoughts come up? Is there something that I'm missing out on that I think I need to do better? Because I think reflecting comes with learning opportunities as well. If you reflect on what you did, why you did it, how you did it, you think, okay, if that situation comes up again, what could I do differently? What could the potential outcome be? But then if we're reflecting on what's going on, we're learning, we're growing as humans, we're growing as practitioners.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy Business Lab podcast, where we basically interview awesome people. And with this episode coming at the end of the calendar year, ready to kick off a new calendar year, it's an extra special episode where I've got the awesome Brett Sams from the Self-Care Zone on the call today. Brett, welcome to this podcast episode.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you on board, and we've had a couple of little chats before recording now. I'd love for you just to share your expertise and a bit of background, and this will start to give our listeners whet the appetite for what we're going to be talking about further today.
Yeah, so I've worked in the community services space for almost 20 years now. I started back when I was 21 in a day program where the team was split. Half the team was siding with the service manager. The other half was wanting to kick them out and bring on someone else and not do things the way they've been instructed to do it. But I was very new to the industry. I hadn't really seen someone have a seizure before. I came from quite a protected household in terms of, there was no fighting, no yelling, that sort of thing. So coming into this situation was quite confronting. So I had to learn early on, how can I look after my mental health following a major medical episode, a behavior of concern, but how can I show up to work tomorrow to look after the same client in the same environment with the same split team fighting amongst themselves, but provide that client with the same quality care that they deserve. I learned what self-care was without knowing what it was, because this is 20 years ago when no one spoke about it.
Yeah, when you just think of the timeline of the decades that you're talking about there, it's a whole nother world, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be able to learn on the go with not many of the frameworks and foundations that I know that you're implementing yourself with people now, none of that existed back then.
No. I don't think there was a word of self-care. It was that long ago. But along those years, I've done a social work degree as well, where the importance of self-care was pretty much jammed down our throats on every single breath. You've got to do your self-care. You got to track your self-care. You got to journal. You've got to, make sure you're doing it. But since graduation, nobody's mentioned self-care. It's like self-care is important only in the structured environment that is uni. In the real world, there's no time for it, and no one does it.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? The difference between the theory. We've all done that in our different degrees, and I know all our allied health professionals here that are listening in, we do certain things in our degrees.
Yeah.
And I know in the financial space, we've done that. Then you walk out day one, and it's a whole nother world out there.
Yeah, it's almost like when we were back in high school, you're told you've got to do algebra, but then you get out and go, when was that useful? There's no point.
So I think interesting that evolution from the self-care, from practical experience and learning, no doubt experimenting with things. Again, we love to talk experiments here in our conversations. What are some of the evolutions and the experiments that you've done, both yourself in, the practical work that you've done in businesses that you've then created a business around this idea as well? What are some of those experiments that you've had over the years?
I guess part of early on, it was a matter of trial and error because there was no guidance around what it was. So I know for me and a lot of the blokes that I talk to, we love to drive. Can we use that time between work and home? And it's a bit hard now when we are working at home. We don't have what they call the third space. So the third space refers to that gap in time between work and home. You don't have that space. But if you do, how can I use that effectively? Could it be putting on some relaxing music or some music that I like? Could it be, if you drive near water, could you go and sit at the beach or the river or the lake and just watch the water come in for 5 minutes, do some deep breathing? And these are all things that I had to go through. I had a 40-minute drive home, so it was turn the music up as loud as I could because I love rock and roll. And everyone hates it, but it was like Nickelback and The Offspring. How could I use that space? So turn the music up, go for a drive, maybe push the limits a little bit over some of the roads. But it's like, okay, I'm not thinking about work in that space. And then that prepared me to go home to my girlfriend back then and, be the home Brett rather than the work Brett. But I think now, because we're working from home, we don't have that space. So it's now, what can I do instead? Could I close the laptop, schedule it out? I work 9 to 5. At 5:05, I close the laptop and go for a 20-minute walk. Could it, in that 20 minutes, put some music on? Or maybe just go without headphones and just sit with your thoughts for those 20 minutes?
I would love to explore that last comment there, because I know in the modern world, a lot of people have challenges with that. And I'm somebody who loves my silence. And sometimes, yes, if I've got a long drive, I'll literally turn everything off. And but whenever I mention that, people are like, just send me, I get all anxious.
Yeah.
The sound of silence. So wanting to respect that for people that are challenged by it, but also knowing there's some potential value there. What would you say for those people that are challenged with it and finding what works for them?
I think the first thing would be is, what is it about the silence? Is it the thoughts that come up? Is it the way that you feel inside? A lot of people, everyone's different, and what works for you may not work for me and may not work for the next person. So it's around finding what works for you and then putting that barricade or that barrier up of, I'm going to focus on this self-care for me. When I think of a barrier, I think of a gate rather than a wall. A lot of people see a barrier as this brick wall that I'm putting up to protect myself. But if you see it as a gate, you allow that gate to open when you choose and to close when you want to keep certain things, people, thoughts out. So you've got control of that gate. If you're opening the gate to allow other perspectives in and go, yeah, I could think of that. It's like a different perspective. If you're not open up to other people's perspectives, you're reducing your learning and your education that can come from that. And this is why collaboration is so important, especially in the NDIS space where you've got the challenges of the price guide changes, there's new policies, there's, all these changes coming in. But if we open up those gates and go to the next service and go, hey, what are you doing? How can I help you? We work together, then as a community, we're going to grow. But going back to the self-care, and the thoughts, if you can work out what it is that you're uncomfortable with, maybe just start with 5 minutes of no music. You can slap your headphones in, but just push pause for 5 minutes mid-walk and go, okay, what thoughts come up? Is there something that I'm missing out on that I think I need to do better? Because I think reflecting comes with learning opportunities as well. If you reflect on what you did, why you did it, how you did it, you think, okay, if that situation comes up again, what could I do differently? What could the potential outcome be? But then if we're reflecting on what's going on, we're learning, we're growing as humans, we're growing as practitioners.
Yeah, I love that. And again, what I've just jotted down, already got a full page of notes here, the simplicity of reflection equals learning opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's just that simplicity of that notion and that idea 100% ties back to the idea of, self-care, because each of those actions help us in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever we're doing, whether we're an employee, a team member, a business owner, having space, whatever space looks like, whatever that third space looks like, opens up those opportunities.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll go back and then touching on the self-care plus community. and the interrelation between those. I'd love for you to delve into that idea a little bit further, because I think, I know myself of the times when I've been involved in communities versus the times where I've potentially isolated myself for whatever reason. And sometimes because the mental space hasn't been where it's needed to be. I know that it's definitely having an impact.
Yeah. So I think you've got to look at yourself and go, am I an introvert or an extrovert? Well, there's a third one. There's an ambivert where you flux between the two. Some people will go, I'm an extrovert. I get energy from going to meeting people, from being out in the community, from doing things. But introvert is doing that active stuff actually adds stress to me. For me, I get relief and process what's going on by sitting at home, watching a movie, reading a book. Could you then go, okay, I'm going to do that, but I know that I need to go and do some social stuff as well. So then work out ways that you can add micro moments of social self-care into your week, into your month, and plan around it. So if you know that there's something coming up that's going to add stress to it, plan something immediately after where you can go back and do your homebody introvert self-care. You've got to plan around it, because I think what happens is we get these build-up of work where you just get busier and busier and busier. And the first thing that gets thrown out the window is self-care. It's like the busier you get, a crisis happens, self-care is forgotten about, and all of a sudden your routine's gone out the window. If we're mindful of that and go, hang on, these are the periods where I need to do more self-care. I'm actually going to schedule that. If it goes in the diary, it gets scheduled and more likely to then go and be followed through on. If you can plan for your self-care around these stressful events, you're still doing your self-care, but you're also expanding your horizons and doing these stressful events that will then bring growth. Like for me, I hate public speaking, but I know that to have the impact that I want on the community that I've worked in for almost 20 years, I need to be able to get up in front of people and say, hey, this is self-care. This is how I can help you. So yesterday I was in front of a group of support coordinators training on self-care, and I hated it. But I know that to have that impact, I need to push through these boundaries and break the barriers of what's holding me back. So I did that and then went and did some self-care straight away. It's building these self-care in so that it's not forgotten and not pushed back.
Love that so much. And the nugget I pulled out that I love people to really focus in on the micro moments of social self-care.
Yeah.
Just a brilliant way to frame that. And again, we all 100% have that love-hate relationship with things that we know have impact versus what I'd prefer to be doing, and sitting in my cave and doing those things is, pretty powerful if then you schedule it. And I got this note up on a board around here. It's like proving your priorities every day. What's in the calendar? What's scheduled? And if you look at that calendar and there is no self-care type of activities in there, then there's going to be a disjoint, or there's going to be the crash at somewhere down the track. And, well, are you going to put that in the calendar to go, I'll just schedule that crash up here, and the crash will never going to fall on that time, I'm sure. It's an interesting way to, I guess, visualize people for visual people. Yeah, an interesting thought.
I think also, too, it's not just scheduling those micro social self-cares. You can also do micro self-cares in other areas. So there's 7 pillars to self-care. If you go, hang on, my physical self-care is a bit, I could do a bit more physical activity. Or could you do 10 squats while the kettle boils and you make a coffee? How many times are you making a coffee a day? You might make 2 or 3. There's 30 squats a day you weren't already doing. You're brushing your teeth. Could you do some mindfulness activity? Actually feel the brushing of the teeth and the way that your mouth feels and the sensations of the bristles over your teeth. That's going to bring you back into here and now and get you out of those thoughts that are just creeping in. There's lots of different ways you can add micro self-care throughout the day. And what I found too is that if you've got, say, a micro self-care every hour, that has more impact than if you just do a 1-hour block of self-care at the end of the week. It might be 5 minutes of breathing, 5 minutes of exercise, 5 minutes of mindfulness, a 5-minute stretch at your desk. Your shoulders and your neck are starting to get a bit sore, so you roll your shoulders, stretch out your back a bit. That's then going to free up the movement and the feeling for the next hour until you get to the next micro self-care.
Yeah, I love that. And I'd love for you to share, let's unpack the 7 pillars there.
Yeah.
Let's go through those, because even some of the things you've touched upon there, I know that these little aspects of I've done, and some far more consistently recently. And I know that power, it's that habit stacking idea. It's so good. So let's unpack these 7 pillars for the listeners.
Yeah, so the 7 pillars are physical, social, which we already touched on, emotional. How are your emotions? Yeah, if something goes wrong, does then that ruin the rest of your day? Or you go, okay, I can breathe through that take a couple of deep breaths and go, okay, that was out of my control what happened. What I can control is my emotions. Spiritual self-care. When you think spiritual, a lot of people think, oh, that's religious. It can be for some people. But for some people, it could be meditation. It could be going in and doing a bushwalk. You're getting your physical self-care, but also your spiritual self-care in that you're connecting with something that's bigger than you. Professional self-care. I think this is the biggest one where a lot of people neglect because your boss comes to you and says, oh, can you do this? Yep, I can do that. Yep, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. And all of a sudden you're swamped. Where if you just go, hang on, do I have the capacity right now to take on this extra task? And if not, then you go, okay, these are the things that I'm working on at the moment. These are the things that you want me to work on. Can you help me prioritize which one to go where? And this comes back to what Simon Sinek says. If you go to your manager and say, this is what I'm working on. This is what I need to work on because you've just given it to me. Help me prioritize what slots into my schedule. And then they go, yeah, okay, let's work on this. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. But then if they come back to you and say, hang on, you've missed out on number 5, you can go, yeah, but remember we worked on this together and you said to do these 4.
Yeah, it makes that communication piece so much more straightforward, doesn't it?
It does, especially if you've got the collaboration between managers and employees of going, this is what's expected. This is what we need to work towards. And if we've got clear communication around it, it's we worked on this together. If you want me to add something else in, well, I might need to take something else out. So what should I take out to fit this new one in? I think that's very much needed in the NDIS space where you've got lots of competing things coming up. You've got 4 plan reviews that are coming up in the next week or so. Well, how can I plan around this? What do I need to put on the back burner for the next couple of weeks so that I can get through this busy period? So what's that, 4, 5?
I think you got up to 5. I counted back here. Yeah, I've got 5 down here. We've got the physical, the social, the emotional, the spiritual, and the professional. We've gone through that. Awesome.
So then the last 2 of the 7 pillars are intellectual self-care. Is there an area of interest that you want to learn more of? Is there something that you go, okay, I need some help with my personal finance? Could you go and find a personal finance podcast or a blog or something like that? Could you go and, I want to do more self-care. Can you go and find a self-care podcast or read something on self-care? I want to improve my physical health or my nutrition. Go and find something that is of interest to you. Could you go and find like a 20-minute TED talk of an area that and go, okay, this is my starting point. I'm going to build on that from here. Rather than just being stagnant and going, this is what I know. Life is an educational journey. So the more we look for ways to learn more, we're going to have a more abundant life moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And so just how are we going to stimulate?
Yeah.
How can we just stimulate that brain a little bit? He's going to give us a whole load of self-care.
Yeah.
So good.
And the last one is environmental. Is there something in your environment that is maybe having a negative impact? Is there a negative person in your life that you don't want to cut out completely, but reduce their input in your life or into your environment? Do you live in a noisy environment in a share house with 5 other people and there's music and everything going on and that's impacting on your sleep? Sleep's important. So then you go, can I do something for myself, go and find a quieter place to live? Is that going to improve my quality of sleep? Because we know if you have a bad night's sleep tonight, you're going to be cranky tomorrow and not functioning at your fullest capacity. Welcome to the life of being a parent. But if you can improve your sleep quality, the rest of your life is going to improve as well. So looking at your environment, is there something in your environment that you can improve on? Is it you're distracted by social media and your phones? Can you delete the social media apps off your phone? And the only way you can access them is to open your laptop and log into your computer. Is that enough of a sticky point to go, do I really want to do this right now? Is there something else I could be working on?
Yeah, so good. And even as you talked about the environmental side of things, the first word that came up for me was just that idea of clutter. Whether it's noise clutter, physical clutter, as I look around, I know the impact that has on, that glorious mess. And literally talking about being a parent, it's your life where I look there and go, that is actually having a bigger impact than I thought I did once I started to reflect on it and reflect on what, even when, as a kid, as I was growing up, I liked clean space and open space as a kid, but my kids are very different to me in that regard. So it's like, we need to work on something here so we can have it in these spaces.
But, and you're aware of that, though. So you go, okay, this is creating some emotional thing for me. What can I do? Can I maybe leave that as is? Can I go and clean the kitchen? Can I go and clean the bathroom? Can I go and clean the office? Control what you can control. And then say to your kids, can I help you clean this? Rather than saying, go and clean it. Can I help you clean it? And then have that conversation with them going, it's a trip hazard. You're going to lose things, actually break things. But if you go and clean it, they're going to push back and go, hang on, I don't want to go and clean it.
No, that's my space. And it makes that's working well for my brain and self-care because that's my fun stuff. 100% spot on. I know I'm going to take a few of those little thoughts there as well, because there's a few of those that I've sort of touched upon. And like you say, it is that self-realization. It's something that it's been like that for our kids are now between 3 and 10 kind of age range. It's been like that for a while, but it was only probably about a month ago that the full impact of that probably we started to go, oh, yeah, it does have that. Again, I love that one. And each of those 7 pillars there, it's fascinating when you break those out and you notice each of those individually. Obviously, there's so much interconnectedness between them that even by doing, say, one small thing, you can touch upon 2 to 3 of those at any given point in time. So again, touched upon earlier on the habit stacking, but it's kind of like pillar stacking here in a way as well, which if you then layer it into what you touched upon of roughly every hourly or whatever it is, you can see how you can start to infuse these, and it's not a big onerous task that if we all just talk about, oh, let's have self-care that helps us in our business life, in our professional life or whatever, that's great, but it feels overwhelmed. But if we break it down into these components and then the time that you can attribute to it, it's like, oh, it's achievable. Eating the elephant one bite at a time kind of idea.
Yeah. It's like going back to, you're talking about clutter, the physical clutter or the emotional clutter. Well, you've got environmental, you've got emotional, you've got mental. There's 3 of the 7 pillars just there. Can you clear some clutter, which is then going to impact other pillars? And one of the books that I wrote, the picture is stone columns with a circle connected on top, because they're not 7 individual pillars. They're all connected. And if you lift one, you're kind of lifting all of them at the same time.
I love that. We love to talk about transformation here and, you sharing the message of self-care and these 7 pillars, that 20 years of experience in the space of helping people in this way. I'd love for you to share any, transformations that when people have managed to achieve and bite off these little pieces as they go, some of the outcomes that you've managed to see from what you do.
Lately, I've gone more into not just self-care, but whole well-being. Because self-care is important, but self-care is one section of well-being. And I think if you're going to neglect the others, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So if we're looking at business well-being, what can you achieve over a period of time, whether it's a 2-year program, a 6-month program, what can you achieve? Well, first thing you need to do is start with the base point. What's happening right now in terms of staff turnover, absenteeism, sick leave, stress leave, also the EAP. Just get a raw number of, for the last 6 months, this is what the company has actually done. This is what we've got the data to back this up. You then do the program, the training, and then for 6 months after that, you get that raw data from HR again. And you go, hang on, we've been able to reduce absenteeism, which is sitting at your desk, physically there, but mentally not doing it. You might be doing maybe 60% of your work because you're mentally not there. So your productivity might have increased. Your sick leave has decreased. Your turnover might have decreased. These are the transformations that save companies money and save the company. If you can show that you've done a well-being program, you've got the data to show that you've made this impact. A lot of places will give you a report to say, this is what the evidence says that you've done through this program. You can then take that back to WorkCover or to iCare or wherever you are, the workers' comp insurance company, and you go, we've done this work. Can we get a discount on our workers' comp insurance premiums? So you're saving money in terms of turnover, absenteeism is up, productivity is up, the culture has improved, but how do you measure culture? Culture is more of a feeling rather than what you see or don't see. Are people wanting to stay? Are people wanting to come and work for you? Do you have to spend lots of money on advertising for a position? Or are people coming to you and saying, hey, have you got a job for me? What can I do for you? That's the culture that you want to improve. Think about when staff leave, the average cost of replacing their staff is between 50% and 200% of their annual income. So if you're not having to replace staff, you're saving $50,000 to $100,000 a year. That's a massive improvement.
Yeah, massive impact. And again, obviously, our background here, financial and people, performance side of things. I love this message so much because it speaks to the heart of, at the end of the day, business and life is about people. At the end of the day is what it comes down to. And people that are feeling good, feeling safe, feeling secure, and, do have that whole well-being in space and they are looking after themselves, it flows through from the bottom to the top and circularly around the whole business.
I think too, it's also important to realize that changing a company culture isn't a top-down or a bottom-up approach. It's both, but also circular and diagonally and everything else as well. The whole company is responsible for improving the culture. A lot of people see that's the CEO's job to do that, but their job is to give the financial approval. Everyone else is responsible for improving the culture.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a nice way to, obviously, I could talk with you for hours and who knows, we'll likely get you down. So many good messages to share. But as we sort of look to the future, and I'd love for people to be connected with you, where's the best place and how can people connect? And you touched upon a little bit earlier on and showing some resources that I'd love for our listeners to be able to access.
Yeah, so probably the easiest way to find me would be on LinkedIn. Search for Brett Sams or for The Self-Care Zone. There are 2 self-care zones. Mine doesn't have the hyphen, but also, I've got a website. It's theselfcarezone.com. On there in the shop, there's a self-care assessment. It's a free download. So if you're wanting to improve one of those 7 pillars of self-care, you download the assessment and you go, okay, answer these questions. Maybe my physical self-care is a bit low this week or this month. What can I do to improve that? Part of the easiest and cheapest way to improve your physical self-care, chuck on a pair of shoes and go for a 20-minute walk. It's free, but that's going to not just improve your physical self-care, but maybe your spiritual self-care as well. Maybe your emotional self-care if you're listening to a podcast or a TED Talk or something else. It's these habit stackings as well. So, and on the website as well, there's blog articles that come out twice a week, and also have my own podcast on Spotify and YouTube. It's the Self-Care Zone podcast.
So good. Thank you for sharing all that. And we'll obviously include all those in the show notes as well. And I can highly recommend Brett's stuff because we got connected through LinkedIn as well. That's where our conversation started and have been following his content and the podcast. Brilliant. Go check it out. Some amazing episodes that I've listened to already. Highly recommend everybody checking that out. So, Brett, once again, I really appreciate what you've shared today. I look forward to following your content and having our listeners do exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
That's a wrap, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Business Lab podcast. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest episodes.